What's up everybody, Commander Sanctum here, and today we have a brand new deck tech using Iroh Grand Lotus. Iroh is a 5/5 human noble ally for 3 green-blue red with firebending 2. During your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback equal to its mana cost, and during your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1. Uncle Iroh is one of the most powerful members of the Fire Nation, and boy, this card is a great representation of that. Not only does he give you mana when he attacks to cast flashback spells, he makes lesson cards, no matter how much they may initially cost, a measly 1 mana to cast. That means you could cast 2 lessons just from him attacking. And this isn't even mentioning the fact that he just gives every instant and sorcery spell in your graveyard flashback, so if you have cheap spells in your graveyard, you can start slinging them with reckless abandon. For this deck tech, we'll be using a strategy to do just that. And not just any strategy, but one that was seen in another deck tech of mine in Fire Lord Azula. I mean, hey, like uncle like niece, right? Well, maybe not so much in the show, but still, we'll be taking the strategy of Spellslinger Voltron from that deck and applying it here. We'll be focusing on cheap instants that buff Iroh up to ridiculous power levels, that get even more ridiculous when you simply cast it again from the graveyard. We'll be supplementing this with typical Spellslinger type effects, as well as some of the better lesson cards that we can take advantage of with Iroh's cost reduction. With that, let's jump into the card highlights. To start out with, we'll look at some cheap pump spells that can really buff Iroh up. Fists of the Anvil and Antagonize are both instants that give a creature +4 to its power, all for a low cost of 2 mana. And hey, since Iroh firebends 2 when he attacks, this is perfect for what we need, letting us essentially cast or flashback these cards for free. Brute Force only gives a +3 power boost, but for a single mana, meaning we can both cast it originally and flash it back, all with Iroh's firebending mana alone. Continuing with the 2 mana pump spells, we have a few that not only give a power increase, but also trample as well. This will be an important aspect of these cards, as they let us hit our opponents more easily with Iroh, rather than letting them simply chump block him with a small, disposable creature. Brute Strength and Blitzball Shot both give the creature a +3 power boost, while Colossal Might takes us a step further and gives the creature +4 instead. While casting any of these cards twice in a combat will make the trample redundant, the power boost it provides for such a small amount of mana should not be overlooked. Now for the real powerhouse pump spells we have access to, the doublers. Unleash Fury and Bulk Up both do the same thing. They double the power of a creature for a turn. For Iroh, this would mean that a single cast of either of these would make him a 10 power creature, while then flashing it back would make him have 20 power, just 1 short from commander damage. And while Bulk Up does naturally have flashback, the fact that you'll be able to flash it back for 2 mana with Iroh out, as opposed to its normal 6, makes it worthwhile to have. As is true with any Voltron deck, the biggest downside to it is that it's easily disrupted by killing the Voltron target. To help mitigate this risk, we have a number of spells that not only pump up a creature, but provide some sort of protection as well. To help against targeted removal, we have a few spells that provide hexproof in Vines of Vastwood, Octopus Form, and Blossoming Defense. All of these cards cost a single mana normally, with Blossoming Defense giving the creature +2/+2, and Octopus Form giving it +1/+1, but also untapping it, giving it a type of pseudo-vigilance. Vines of Vastwood only provides a power boost if it's kicked, though since its kicker cost is only a single green, this means that, combined, it'll be a measly 2 mana to give Iroh hexproof and a whopping +4/+4, making it well worth the extra mana. Tyvar's Stand and Tamiyo's Safekeeping also give a creature hexproof, but also indestructible, making them great options against something like a damage or destruction based board wipe as well. Tyvar's Stand even lets you pump up the creature's power based on how much mana you put into it. The flashback mechanic works the same way for this card, letting you pay whatever you want for X when it's flashed back, making it an excellent protection or even finisher card to get the last few points of commander damage in. Slip Out the Back takes the protection a step further by phasing the creature out. This not only protects it from targeted removal and damage or destruction based board wipes, but exile based ones as well, since the creature will basically not exist when it resolves. The fact that the power boost is in the form of a counter is nice as well, making it easier to kill an opponent with straight commander damage and a power doubler the next turn. Since we want to make sure our opponents can't just chump block Iroh every turn, we have a few options to give him various forms of evasion as well. Aqueous Form, while not an instant or sorcery, is a great way to give Iroh permanent unblockable for as long as it or he stays out, letting you pump him up to your heart's content every turn without having to worry whether you'll be able to hit someone or not. Bria Riptide Rogue is similar to this, but with the added benefit of also giving Iroh a power boost thanks to the Prowess ability. Casting just a single spell with Bria out can give Iroh +1/+1 and unblockable, making it a highly effective option. Shadow Rift gives a creature Shadow, which, while not technically unblockable, is going to be 99% of the time, making it a great option for evasion. It even draws a card when it resolves, netting you a nice 2 cards when cast and then flashed back later. Just like with doubling his power, giving Iroh Double Strike is another effective way to dish out some serious damage and kill someone with commander damage quickly. Thankfully, we have a number of ways that we can do this in our color pairing. Temur Battle Rage and Psychotic Fury can both give Iroh Double Strike for a small 2 mana, with the Battle Rage even giving him Trample, since he naturally has more than 4 power, and the Fury letting us draw a card, effectively replacing itself when cast. Blood Mist isn't a spell that gives Double Strike to a creature, but instead an enchantment. Just like with Aqueous Form and Evasion, this can be a great way to make sure we can consistently give Iroh Double Strike, even after we've exhausted both Temur Battle Rage and Psychotic Fury, if it comes to that. Another great way to make sure we can persistently make Iroh bigger, in cases where we may not have spells readily available, is with counters. For this, we have Astrologian's Planisphere, which synergizes very well with our Spellslinger strategy, since it'll give the equipped creature a +1/+1 counter whenever we cast a non-creature spell. Since the vast majority of our deck is non-creature spells, this can add up very, very quickly. Speaking of adding up quickly, Primeval Bounty has the same type of effect, though giving us a whopping 3 +1/+1 counters whenever we cast a non-creature spell. Not only that, but we also gain some life whenever we play a land, and create creature tokens whenever we cast a creature, making it an extremely versatile and powerful enchantment at our disposal. While there aren't too many lessons that really fit with our theme, I wanted to make sure to include some so we can really take advantage of Iroh's lesson cost reduction ability. For this, we have Origin of Metal Bending, which does fit well with our theme since it can give Iroh a +1/+1 counter and even indestructible for a turn. Not only that, but it's modular, since it can also act as artifact or enchantment removal if need be. For more card draw options, we have Introduction to Prophecy, which can be a nice way to stack our deck and draw a few cards at a reduced cost. Teachings of the Archaics also lets us draw some cards, though in a more restrictive manner. Still, if you find yourself low on cards or facing down an opponent who's gotten a ton of card advantage, this is a great way to help level out the playing field and get you back into the game. For the Spellslinger side of our strategy, we have access to a number of cards that create creature tokens whenever a certain type of spell is cast. These are great supplements to a Voltron strategy, since the biggest downside of Voltron is the fact that you don't have as many creatures to keep back to block your opponent's attacks. Third Path to Iconoclast gives us a 1/1 soldier artifact whenever we cast a non-creature spell, which is great since it'll include our things like Mana Rocks or Voltron enchantments. Talrand Sky Summoner and Young Pyromancer both trigger instead off instants or sorceries, with the former creating 2/2 flying drakes and the latter creating 1/1 elemental tokens. Now for some token generators that work specifically well with our strategy or Iroh himself. Geralf the Fleshwright creates an army of zombies that consistently get bigger the more spells you cast in a turn. Since we have a bunch of cheap spells that can be easily recurred thanks to Iroh's ability, Geralf can easily net us a huge amount of power spread across multiple bodies in a single turn. Iraxa, Empress of Mars, instead creates a 2/2 alien warrior whenever we cast a spell from anywhere other than our hand. Not only does this include Iroh himself, since we cast him from the command zone, but also includes all the cards we'll flash back with his ability. Seriously, these 2 cards can do some serious work in this deck just thanks to our strategy, making them solid token choices. There are also a few utility cards I wanted to point out that work well with our theme. Catalyst Stone reduces the cost of flashback for us by 2 generic mana. While a number of the pump spells we have cost only a single pip of mana, this card can be great for those other supplemental cards, like Ramp or Card Draw, that we'll naturally have in our graveyard after use. It also increases flashback costs for our opponents, which may be relevant in some situations, though more than likely not most of the time. Leering Emblem is one of my favorite Spellslinger Voltron cards, giving the equipped creature a whopping +2/+2 whenever you cast a spell. Since we're already trying to cast multiple spells in a turn to make Iroh a monster, the emblem can go a long way in increasing it even further, since even casting a 1 mana pump spell twice will increase his power by +4 thanks to the emblem alone. Here's an example deck list utilizing all the previously mentioned cards. Additional cards include more pump spells with Giant Growth, another card draw lesson in Illuminate History, and some good utility lands that can help our strategy in Fire Nation Palace and Lindblom Industrial Regency. Uncle Iroh is one of my favorite characters from Avatar, so I love seeing such a great and flavorful commander card for him. Iroh is all about dishing out words of wisdom to his nephew, so the fact that he makes the card type of lessons cheaper is top tier flavor. Beyond the flavor aspects of Iroh Grand Lotus, the card itself is extremely powerful. Being able to have a persistent flashback mechanism for all of the spells in our graveyard is extremely powerful and opens up a number of different strategies. Honestly, I think the Spellslinger Voltron is going to be one of the better ones we can use for him. Going full Spellslinger may end up being more powerful, but being able to pump his power over and over again to swing in for lethal is definitely going to end some games quickly. Honestly, I like to rate my pump spell based Voltron decks on a scale of 1 to Sergeant John Benton, with 1 being the worst and Benton being absolutely ridiculously overpowered. While Iroh doesn't quite reach the levels of the good old Sergeant, he's not that far behind if built correctly. Even beyond the pump spells, the fact that we can, effectively, cast most or all of our ramp and card draw spells twice makes his ability incredibly powerful. And once we get more lessons, hopefully in the next upcoming Strixhaven set, he'll get even more powerful. Things are really looking up for Iroh. If you're also a fan of his character in the show, or want a Teamer colored Spellslinger Voltron deck, then Iroh Grand Lotus is the one for you. I hope you enjoyed watching this deck tech on Iroh Grand Lotus. The full deck list outlined in this video can be found at the Architect link at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like and comment, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Magic content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.